Welcome to Reigniting You, the show that explores a variety of topics and timely issues for making successful mid to late career transitions with a renewed sense of purpose and fulfillment for the next phase of your career and life, regardless of your age. Now, here's your host, Lisa Downs.
Welcome to Reigniting You, where we talk all things career transition for those age 40 plus. I'm Lisa Downs, Seattle-based career and retirement transition coach. It's great to be with all of you today and with our producer, Eric. Hey, Eric.
Good afternoon, Lisa. Great to see you again. I know we've got a great show lined up today.
Yeah, very exciting. So we have our first guest interview today. So that should be awesome. So we'll hear from our guest here in a little while. My guest today is Charlie Mcgee of FranNet of Washington, who's here to share his career transition story and how franchise ownership can be a potential career move. And we'll hear more from Charlie right after this quick break.
Climbing the corporate ladder used to lead to success and a satisfying retirement. That ladder is now broken. You want to succeed today. Stop playing by yesterday's rules. 5 out of 6 millionaires started their own business. Now you can too. Introducing FranNet, your local franchise resource. With enough franchise options to fill CenturyLink Field, FranNet will help you find the right fit to realize your dream of being your own boss in a successful business. Be in business for yourself, not by yourself. Charlie Mcgee can help. Learn more at frannet.com.
Are you feeling challenged or frustrated without a plan for what's next in your career and life? Are you seeing writings on the wall for needing to make a mid to late career change and don't know how or what to do? Coach Lisa Downs of New Aspect Coaching can guide you to what's next, providing a fresh perspective and supporting you to create a clear and compelling vision for your future and a plan to move forward. Call Lisa at 425-216-3015. That's 425-216-3015. New Aspect Coaching, fresh perspectives for your career.
Make us part of your daily routine. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Reigniting You, a new show that focuses on all aspects of making mid to late career transitions. A big thank you to our sponsor, FranNet, your franchise experts. And speaking of FranNet, I'm really happy to introduce Charlie Mcgee to the show. He's the managing partner of FranNet of Washington, a local consulting firm advising individuals in career transition on franchise ownership. And before starting his entrepreneurial journey 8 years ago, Charlie spent over 20 years with Pearl Vision and Sonus Hearing Care in store operations, training, and franchise development. He and his wife, Katie, are nearly empty nesters after raising 2 kids in Snohomish County here in Washington State. And his dream is to build a 3-hole golf course his family and friends will enjoy playing together for the rest of their lives. That's pretty cool. Hi, Charlie. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Lisa. Great to be with you.
So, got a few questions here for us just to kick things off. And, you and I have known each other for a couple years now and know some information about each other, but would love to know what's been your career path that led you to FranNet and, different career transitions that you've made over the years.
You bet. Well, I would, if I had to choose one word for my career path so far, I would say adventure, because it's certainly been one. If I can kind of break it into maybe 3 different phases. It's, the early years when I was trying to figure out who I was, what I wanted to do. And when I say early, I mean early, like when I was throwing newspapers and doing yard work and selling books door to door and coaching at soccer camps and this sort of thing. When I graduated from college and I started with Pearl Vision, I remember calling my dad one time and telling him, you know what, I think I have found the perfect job. I remember feeling so perfectly aligned with what I was doing. And that feeling really lasted a long time. I ended up spending 17 years at Pearl. in operations, as a national trainer, as a very successful regional manager for 10 years. And then I got my first taste of job transition. It was 2008. That those were those that experienced the Great Recession. I did too. And so despite having this marvelous trophy case of awards and a stack of files of wonderful reviews, I found myself displaced. And I figured out I needed to, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had always had this idea of doing something on my own. And I got involved in a professional practice brokerage for a couple of years. So I got a little taste of it, but those were very difficult times financially and lending and so forth. I got lured back into a corporate W-2 job where I learned a lot, but it reminded me of how much I really needed to be on my own. And after experiencing that for, not quite 3 years, but I went through about 5 different bosses. And, one day my number was up. And at that point I said, with 2 younger kids in the house and having given up so much in terms of realistic, conservative even, with regard to your financial readiness, really having a good sense of your budget, and so that you can put yourself in a position to safely launch a business and be as efficient as you can managing those risks.
Sure. And just to follow up on that, from what you just shared, what are some of the risks that you've seen over time or as you've worked with clients? So maybe some of the initial mistakes that they might make.
Well, I like to think that we're, by working with me, the clients have a good sense of the skills that they're going to need to have to successfully launch the business. And what I mean by that is that what comes up so often, particularly in the Puget Sound area, are people that have technical backgrounds that then want to go into a sales-driven business. And if you haven't had a sales background, then you need to really have a good understanding of where your customer is going to come from. Is it an inbound passive retail model? Is it more of an outbound B2B relationship building model? And so that's one of the things that we do to help people understand. The other thing is that just for any business is getting a sense of how the business is going to launch, how it's going to ramp, how long it would take to get to a positive cash flow position, and ensuring that the household income and the resources of that prospective franchisee are appropriate for what will be likely required. And always leaving a little extra room for the just in case, life happens scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And all great points. I know for me, when I first went independent 5 years ago, and, it's
involved in doing so. And, compliance is not necessarily a strength. So if you don't see the value and appreciate the benefits of consistent customer experience and branding execution and so forth, then it may not be the best flavor for you.
Yeah. Well, I get that. And, it was funny when I was first considering going independent, I spent quite a bit of time. I don't think my last corporate employer really knew what I was up to. Hopefully not. But I spent quite a bit of time talking to a number of people who'd been on their own for a while, and in the people development industry where I come from, and a few of them said, you're going to think 2 things when you go independent. The first is, I should have done this a long time ago. And the second is, I will now make a horrible employee. So, and it's like, yep. So
I feel ruined to ever go work.
I know. So yeah, it's like I get that, and about the rule thing too. And it's like not that I don't follow the rules. I'm a good girl from that perspective. But now I think about working for someone else again, and it's like, oh, kind of gives me that bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. So
And
totally get
I
that.
don't mean to suggest that as a franchisee you are working for the franchisor. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
You are your own independent business owner, but with a partner. I think the best way to look at the franchisor is as a partner.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just thought I'd add that.
Oh, that's great. That's a great point, and I think that's what it's really about is forming partnerships. And even though you may be the owner or you may be independent, it doesn't mean that you necessarily that it's a great strategy to completely go it alone for everything. So partnerships I think are really critical as well. So thanks for bringing that up too. And for you in your role, what's your specific role in supporting people who want to be a franchisee?
Yeah, thanks. FranNet that I'm with has been doing this for 30 years. They've been, where might you be a best fit? Who are the franchisors that are looking for people with your strengths and your background? And then advising them through the due diligence process so that they, are asking the right questions and put themselves in a position to really make a confident, fact-based decision about whether now is the right time for them to start their entrepreneurial journey and whether they've found the concept that, really is the best fit.
Yeah. And just to follow up with that, so, when I think, lots of times when I think about franchises, I think of fast food. So I think of, McDonald's, Burger King, Dairy Queen, et cetera. What are what's the range of the types of businesses that people can go into franchising with?
It's a great question. And, there are so many, there's so many different options. If you go to at our website, frannet.com, there's a description of probably 80 different categories where franchises can be found. Things that serve other businesses, residential services. Speaking of residential services, I mean, this year with the pandemic, those businesses that have served the needs of homeowners are seeing some of their best, are having record years
Oh, wow.
because of what people are, they're home and they're noticing things that need to be done. And that's one of the things that we do is try to help people focus on, what are the businesses that are need-based and are going to perform well in good times and bad.
That's really cool. Nice. And so, Charlie, for people to find you if they're curious and want to learn more, how can they reach you?
Well, our website, frannet.com, is a terrific resource with lots of great information and education about franchising in general. They can visit my page at frannet.com/cmcgee. I'm on LinkedIn, and if they'd like to do it the old-fashioned way and call me, they could at 360-489-2153. Would love to chat.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here, Charlie, and taking the plunge as my first guest for the show. Really appreciate it and your insights for our listeners. And as we wind down for the show for today, my reignition recommendation for you this week is to challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone. Who's someone you can connect with? What's a role you can go for, whether for work or as a volunteer? How about learning something new? You never know what great things and people you'll discover unless you take a look around and act.